Okay, so we just have to wait and then we'll tell you when.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the city's Planning Advisory and Adjustment Committee for Wednesday, December 15th, 2021. I'm Romeo Levisser, and I will be chairing at this meeting. And at this particular time, I'm calling the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, and we welcome all of the members of the Advisory and Adjustment Committee who are at home and are joining us via Zoom, and plus a few guests that we'll have throughout the afternoon or the evening. The first item is the approval of the agenda. Are there any errors or not omissions or any additions to the agenda? Other than we have one item which we can place down as new business 5D. And it is a letter from the County of Renfrew.
Yes, that would be part of 5C.
That would be part of
5C.
C?
5C.
Oh, 5C. C, okay. This will be actually part of 5C. I guess you can put it 5C and 3 little I's. And it is a letter from the County of Renfrew. It is from the Department of Development and Property, and we will deal with the letter at that particular time. Any other items to be added? Seeing no action, then I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Christine Reevy, seconded by Marie-Josée Levesque. Any other comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, the minutes of the last meeting, which was held on October 27th, 2021, have been circulated. You've had an opportunity to read them. Were there any errors or any omissions in those particular minutes? Asking members just to have a quick perusal. Sure that you've gone through them. Asking once again, any errors or any omissions or any comments regarding these minutes? Seeing none from the 3 members of the committee, therefore looking for a motion to approve the minutes as was circulated. Moved by Tanya and seconded by Christine Reevy. All in favor? Carried. Next item on the agenda is the disclosure of pecuniary interests and general nature thereof. Any conflict of interest by any members of the committee? Seeing none, then we'll carry on to new business. And the first item is 5A, and it is a property at 1127 Pembroke Street West. And this is an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment application, which means that depending on the decision one way or the other, it will be going to City Council as Planning Committee in order to deal with it. Certainly, the recommendation from our committee will be taken in consideration regarding this application. At this time, I would ask Ms. Colleen Sorio, our planner, to please report about the property and the application.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So an application for an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment has been received for the property at 1127 Pembroke Street West. The official plan designates the property presently as institutional, flood fringe institutional, and hazard. The institutional classification of land means the predominant use of land in the areas so designated shall be for public services. The applicant wants to change the use of the building to permit a 65-unit apartment building. The original intent of the property was for a 65-unit retirement home. The zoning bylaw defines a retirement home as a residential building containing dwelling units, providing residence primarily to senior citizens. An apartment building does not limit the tenants to senior citizens like a retirement home does. The intent of the official plan is to change it to residential, flood fringe residential, and hazard. The intent of the residential designation is to develop a neighborhood with a mix of housing types designed to meet a range of housing needs. In this neighborhood, there is a residential apartment building to the west of the property, and to the east of the property, there is a continuum of care home for the aged. To the north of the property is the Ottawa River, and to the south of the property, there are single detached houses, converted dwelling houses containing up to 2 units, and a commercial parking lot of the West End Mall. The official plan also states that redevelopment will only be permitted provided there is compatibility with density and height of existing surrounding development. And this building is the same height and density as the buildings to the east and west of 1127 Pembroke Street West. The official plan wants to encourage infill and intensification to create a potential supply of new housing units. The proposed use of an apartment building would meet the intensification criteria and would be compatible with the density and height of existing surrounding development. The proposed zoning of 1127 Pembroke Street West would be to rezone to a residential type 4-12 zone, a residential type 4-12 flood fringe zone, and a floodplain zone. The proposed R4-12 zone would permit an apartment building, and the applicant has provided an elevation survey to show that the existing building is fully located above the floodplain and the flood fringe designations. No addition to the building is proposed. Only the interior would be converted for the 65 units. The property meets the lot area, lot frontage, front yard depth, interior side yard, rear yard, and landscaped open space. There was a minor variance recently in March of 2021 to reduce dwelling unit sizes. The approval for this reduced minimum dwelling units will be transferred to this application. Relief was granted for bachelor dwelling unit areas of between 240 and 320 square feet, and for 1-bedroom dwelling units between 414 and 444 square units. There are further deficiencies for dwelling unit areas since the rooms were designed to meet the retirement home dwelling units, and thus further relief would be minor relief would be required up to 389 square feet for bachelors and for 594 square feet for 1-bedroom. The official plan states that City Council's policy is to establish a minimum target of 25% of new units to be affordable to low and moderate income households. Based on the size of the proposed units, they should meet the criteria of being affordable to low and moderate income households. The zoning bylaw also requires 1.5 parking spaces per dwelling unit. 65 dwelling units, as I said, are being proposed. Therefore, 98 parking spaces are required. According to the original site plan, 37 parking spaces were provided, which included 2 accessible parking spaces. Due to the size of the units and the location of the proposed apartment building, it would be the planning department's recommendation to reduce the parking formula for 1127 Pembroke Street West to 1 parking space per dwelling unit. Thus, 65 parking spaces would be required. This parking ratio would be in line with parking requirements for dwelling units above non-residential uses or dwelling units in portions of non-residential buildings. This ratio would also be in line with other multi-residential uses that were permitted to reduce the parking to 1 parking space per unit during the rezoning process, such as 380 McKay Street, so that a 3rd floor could be built to create more apartment units, and 276 Church Street, where the rear portion of the Calvin United Church was to be converted to 22 dwelling units. Therefore, an additional 28 parking spaces would be required and are shown on the revised site plan, which you have. The development is subject to site plan agreement and would be serviced by municipal water and sewer. An objection to this official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment has been received on November 25th, which is part of your package. The owners of 1122 Pembroke Street West are objecting to the application as they are concerned that their property value might decrease and further, there may be more noise due to the apartment building. The property owner of 19 and 21 Riverside Drive has called with concerns about possible future development of the property. I believe she's on Zoom this evening. Again, if this is approved tonight, this will only allow the 65-unit apartment building. Any other development on the property would require a further rezoning, and the neighbors would be notified again if they're located within the 120-meter notification radius. This application meets the intent of the provincial policy statement as it promotes intensification, development on municipal services, active transportation because it's near the Riverside Park, Kiwanis Walkway, and Algonquin Trail. So based on this information, the Planning Department recommends the proposal to the Planning Advisory and Adjustment Committee.
Well, thank you very much. I think that the Planning Department spent a lot of time on this, and it's an excellent report. At this time, I would ask members of the Planning Committee to make comments or ask questions. We'll begin with Councillor Christine Reevy. Questions, comments?
No, I don't have any. I believe there is a requirement. I'm getting feedback here. For, housing for the low to moderate income group, and this would certainly provide quite a few units that would help those folks out. So I really don't have anything further at this point.
Okay, I kind of jumped the gun a wee bit there. Thank you very much for your comments. You may have an opportunity to think about others, but we do have individuals that have provided, I guess, some questioning and so on.
Well, we do have the developers and the architects are here this evening.
Yes.
We have Ava and Maya. Did you want to say anything, Ava or Maya, in regards to the application?
Ava, anything? I'm okay. I think the report covered everything that we wanted to say. So thank you for that.
I also think that the report covered everything, and the building is so secluded from the surrounding area, and we are building within existing walls. We are not changing anything. We are not cutting any trees. The distance to the adjacent properties from the actual building, particularly to 1921 Riverside Drive, is actually 250 meters throughout the entire park. And most of the activity will be on the street side. So I would say, it is not going to affect adversely the adjacent properties on the riverside. It's the existing condition anyway. I think that's all I would like to say. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, we do also have Darlene Dumas on Zoom, and she's the owner of 19 and 21 Riverside Drive, and she may have want to express her concerns.
Yeah. Okay, Ms. Dumas, questions?
Hi there. Thank you very much, Ava, for that comment. The other Darlene is my husband, who's also on the meeting, watching the meeting. It's not so much concern about the actual existing building being renovated. It's the concern of the use of the property in front of the building on the river. And I don't know if a severance can be made to sort of straighten the property line out, because right now it goes sort of right in front of our house. We're concerned about the number of people on the beaches and if they're going to be coming over to our property, just things like that, and the environmental effect of having gone from basically nothing to a whole bunch of people all of a sudden using this property.
Thank you very much. Perhaps in response to that, any development on that piece of property in question, Mrs. Dumas, would have to be a new application.
Correct. Yeah. So if this is approved, this particular application only allows for the 65 units within the existing building. So if there was any other further development, then you would be notified through a rezoning again. In regards to a severance, that would be something that you and the developer would have to discuss and decide, come up with a plan. And if that plan was suitable to both parties, then you could submit an application to the city. Okay, but the city wouldn't get involved in that. That would be between you and the developer.
And who would I contact, or how would I get the information of the developer to begin that conversation?
We can get you that tomorrow. We can get you that information. We can email you. I think, do you have her email? Yeah, okay, we can email you the information.
Okay, excellent. And in terms of development, it's only of the building. There'll be no development on the river beach area, like I don't know, a gazebo or anything like that. Is that in the plans, please, Ava?
There's nothing proposed in the plans. If you look at the plans, we are limited just to the extent of the existing building as per application submitted.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much. Any other information or questions, Ms. Lewis?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you very much.
So, Mr. Chairman, maybe Owen could also read Mr. Bissett's email that was part of he had a concern as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
So we received a submission of opposition from Mr. Robert Bissett of 1122 Pembroke Street West. He sent this by email, and I will read it as follows. I object to the zoning of 1127 Pembroke Street West due to the close proximity of our home. We are concerned that our property value may decrease due to the upkeep of the said building and property at 1127 Pembroke Street West. Furthermore, this area at night has been relatively quiet, and an extra large volume of people in a 65 unit building will change that dramatically. So we object.
Well, thank you very much. There any comment to that particular letter?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, there has to be good planning reasons, planning principle reasons to object, and value of a property has been considered by the old Ontario Municipal Board, now the Ontario Land Tribunal, as not being a planning principle about the value of the property. So that's not, wouldn't stand up if it was appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal.
Thank you very much. Were there any other correspondence regarding this application in opposition?
No, we have now reviewed both submissions.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate the comments from Ms. Loomis and Ava, and as well as the letter that we received. It's important that we do provide the opportunity and that we are transparent in any of the applications that we receive, and so that we can be transparent and fair to the councillors when they have to deal with it if it's an application that requires their attention. So at this particular time now, we'll jump to the councillors, and perhaps Christine, we gave you an opportunity to comment earlier. Anything to add? No? Okay. Tanya, questions?
No, there is a diehard need for moderate to lower income for rentals right now. There's like nothing out there, so, or everything is way overpriced. So I have no objection.
Thank you very much. Marie-Josée, any comments?
Yeah, I just also want to recognize that there's a increased need in this community for rental units, and that's an important project in that regard. I would also like to note that if it would have been my wish to see bigger units. I know that there are constraints but some of those unit sizes are the sizes that you would expect in a city like New York City. So I do not plan to object to the application, but this is a comment that I feel is important to raise.
Thank you very much. I think that'll be duly noted in the minutes, and when Councillor Reevy makes her report to City Council, that is one of the items that may be mentioned. Okay,
Councillor Reevy.
okay, Councillor Reevy?
I'm sorry, this was on my notes. I wanted to ask about in the 65 units, if any of them will be considered to be accessible units, because we do have that need within the community as well.
I'll defer that to our planner, or Eva, I guess you're going to comment on that.
Yeah, that's right. So we have accessible units on every floor. Every type of a unit is represented. And in addition, on the ground floor, we have accessible units with private patios, just to accommodate, because that would be the easiest access, without having to use an old elevator, to basically just use the access on the ground floor. So we meet the requirements on the Ontario Building Code, but we also meet the requirements to provide each type of a unit being accessible.
Thank you very much, Councillor Reevy. That is the response I think you were looking for. Thank you very much. I actually was going to ask Councillor Reevy to chair the meeting while I made some comments, but I feel that there's no need for me to comment on this particular application after hearing everything that's been here. Just to summarize a wee bit, it is a new development. The concern for the letter that we received, 1122, I think that one of the facts that could help their situation, and they were concerned about the dropping of the value of their property. It can go the other way as well. In view of the way the development is going on in that particular area, it could go the other way. So it's not one of the things that we can take into serious consideration at this point. But I'd like to mention for that property owner that this particular building is going to be well back of the street. I mean, it's deep in, and there's a lot of space there, and it's well landscaped. And of course, I believe that the landscaping and the distance from the main road will certainly do a lot to minimize any noise that may happen otherwise. It's a perfect area for this building. And so, as it's been mentioned, 65 units, many will be accessible units, and many of them will be affordable, as was mentioned by Tanya and Councillor Reevy. And I think that it looks like a pretty solid development. And at this particular time, I'm going to ask members of the committee to decide one way or the other. So I'm looking for a motion to accept the application as was presented and by the planner. Moved by Tanya, seconded by Councillor Reevy. Further comments? All in favor? Carried unanimously. I want to thank everyone who had an interest in this particular application, and we thank you for the presentations. I think that as committee member Tanya Fennemoore mentioned, there is much need here for affordable housing and affordable apartments. And the mere fact that there'll be a different array of sizes of square footage, I think that it'll certainly help to meet that need in this particular community. Thank you very much. This particular application now will go to City Council in January 4th. And City Council will have our report, and Christine Reevy, who acts as our communicator at that particular meeting. And then anyone who is present this evening via Zoom, you're certainly welcome to do the same thing for that council meeting. In order to make sure that I've dotted the I's and crossed the T's, I'll ask our planner to really reinforce what will happen at that meeting and what they can do.
Okay, so that meeting will be a public meeting of council. So if you are interested, Mrs. Dumas, to be part of the Zoom, just let Owen know tomorrow and we'll make sure then we send you, because it'll be a different Zoom link than this one. Okay, so just Owen, when he'll be emailing you with the ownership of the property. So we'll also tell you about the Zoom link for council. So it's the same kind of format. I will read my report. Council Reedy will explain what the outcome of this particular planning advisory committee meeting was, and then they will hear anybody in support or in opposition to the proposal. Council will make a decision, and if they vote in favor, there's a 20-day appeal period in which anyone can appeal council's decision. And if there's no appeals, then the decision is final after the 20 days.
Thank you very much. This particular session is now completed.
And thank you for the opportunity to attend this. It's answered a few questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to item number 5B. This is an application at 478 and 484 Pembroke Street West. It's a minor variance application, and viewers should be aware that a minor variance application, if approved at this level, does not go to the council. It's one of these decisions that are made here by this committee, and it just goes through the appeal process, and that's it. So at this time, I will ask, I believe, Owen, the planning technician, is going to present this particular application.
Okay, so leave meeting.
Okay. We're good? Okay.
Okay, Owen?
The applicant, Chad Patrick of PFT Construction, who is present tonight via Zoom, originally applied in 2020, and was approved for a minor variance, followed by a site plan agreement and a building permit to convert two existing buildings at 478 and 484 Pembroke Street West into a student residence called Canoe Lofts. Mr. Patrick is now looking to fulfill two final outstanding requirements of said site plan agreement. The proposed garbage enclosure would be located 0.48 meters from the rear property line, which is 1.96 meters short of the 2.44 meter requirement. On the original approved site plan, the garbage enclosure was to be located within the easterly interior side yard setback. This original location, though it met the prescribed setback, put the garbage enclosure in full view from both Pembroke Street West at the front, as well as from the neighboring property at 464 Pembroke Street West, as well as even further on east from Monroe Street. The newly proposed location would screen the garbage enclosure from all sides by a combination of fences to the south and west and existing buildings to the east and north. However, in this proposed location, the applicant is unable to meet the rear yard setback requirement due to being constrained by existing parking spaces. The area of the neighboring property immediately abutting the rear of said proposed garbage enclosure is used as a parking lot for Neville Funeral Home, which is zoned Central Commercial Special Exception Zone 23. The proposed reduction of a single parking space would bring the total number of on-site parking spaces down to 17, which is one short of the required 18 parking spaces. The applicant is unable to meet this requirement due to space restrictions of the properties. The city's cash in lieu of parking policy, which is bylaw 1990-12, would apply should relief be approved. This means that a bylaw would go before council, authorizing a one-time payment of $1,500 to the city in lieu of the single parking space. This money would be put into a reserve parking account and used for future parking issues by the city. So the relief requested can be considered minor in nature due to minimal relief being requested, specifically 5.6% regarding the number of parking spaces, and regarding the garbage enclosure, the minimal visual impact of the new location. This application is in keeping it meets the intent of the city's official plan 2016, as well as the provincial policy statement 2020. As members can see detailed in my report in the agenda packages. So the planning department is recommending that the committee approve the application for relief from accessory uses, rear lot line not abutting a street, abutting a residential zone, and minimum parking space requirements, student residence, in an institutional special exception 7 zone to allow the applicant to fulfill obligations under a site plan agreement for the properties by adding a garbage enclosure with reduced setback requirements and providing relief from a single parking space requirement.
Thank you very much, Owen. Anybody, did we receive any correspondence regarding this particular application?
We did not, Mr. Chairman.
We did not, okay. The individual who represents the application, do they wish to comment on it?
Hey, thanks for, can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, the garbage at the back makes sense. The funeral home has a huge fence there that basically blocks it off instead of having it kind of towards the front of the building. And also the owners and operators of the building have made a deal to use parking spaces from the neighboring real estate agent because they have so many spaces there that they don't use. So I believe they're actually renting 5 or 6 spaces off there. And I believe we have like 20 bike racks on site because a lot of the Algonquin students that go there are in outdoor ed. So there's a lot of biking. So I mean, right now they have enough spaces because it's fully rented. They have enough spaces for everybody as they're using they're renting spaces from Remax. So it hasn't really hindered the property at all or operational. So that's all I have that in.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I ask the members of the committee to comment and ask their questions, there's something in the report that indicates that if this is approved, then there is the application of the parking bylaw where they would have to pay a sum of $1,500. So do you want to explain that a little bit?
So there's a cash in lieu of parking bylaw in place. So the reason why it wasn't implemented in 1127 Pembroke Street West was because the parking formula was changed. In this particular case, the parking formula is not changed and they cannot meet the requirements of the zoning or of the parking requirements in the zoning bylaw. So council has the ability to invoke the cash in lieu of parking bylaw. It's a one-time fee of $1,500. So we will take that to council if this is approved and if this is given as a condition of the minor variance. We will take this to council and then see if they approve the one-time cash in lieu. We've had that for 320 Lake Street. We've had it for 164 Christie Street when we've done it. So that's it's a standard thing that happens.
Thank you very much. I wanted to make sure that members of the committee were aware of that particular fact. Okay, I will start with Tanya Santamo. Would you have any questions or comments?
No, I have no questions or comments. I think it's minor invariance, so nothing at all.
Okay, thank you very much. Marie-Josée Levesque?
Nope, this is pretty straightforward. No questions, no comment.
Thank you very much. Councillor Christine Reevy?
I have no questions or just one comment that I applaud the owners for their consideration to their neighbors and to the traveling public for not having to view a garbage enclosure. The canoe lofts are lovely. I live close by and I've been watching the progress since it started. So I think this is a great idea and we can always welcome any dollar towards our parking fund that so it's all good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, having heard the comments and the planning report and an explanation of a clause in the report, I'm looking for a motion to accept the application as it was presented. Moved by Marie-Josée Levesque, seconded by Christine Reevy. Further comments, questions? All in favor? Carried unanimously. So thank you very much, Mr. Patrick. You've got your answer, and the application now will go to council, I believe.
No, this is a minor variance, so the minor variance will not, but the application for the parking cash in lieu will go January 4th to council.
Okay, so Mr. Patrick may wish to be present at that meeting for that particular item. So the minor variance has been accepted.
Yes, so there's a 20-day appeal period,
Yeah.
and then it would be subject to the fulfillment of the conditions if council does approve the the parking cash in lieu.
Good. Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick. This particular item is now completed. Going to item number C. That deals with the duplexes, the series of 4 duplexes that have been and are being built on Nelson Street. This is a consent to sever application. I would like to ask the planner to present the report.
The applicant, JP2G Consultants Inc., originally applied and were approved for a zoning bylaw amendment for the properties from 345 to 359 Nelson Street, along with 3 consent to sever applications in February 2021. The result being 4 separate R2 special exception 25 properties. For these 4 properties, the intent was to construct a semi-detached building, which is 2 dwelling units each, on each separate property. 2 further consent to sever applications, concurrently with 2 minor variance applications, were applied for and approved in October 2021, severing the first 2 completed semi-detached buildings into 4 separate properties, which were 353, 355, 357, and 359 Nelson Street, for individual sale, with relief being granted for applicable lot deficiencies that arose during the surveying process. The applicant is now applying to have the remaining semi-detached buildings, 345, 347, 349, and 351 Nelson Street, which are currently under construction, severed for individual sale. The severed parcel of 347 Nelson Street would have a frontage of approximately 9.81 meters, a depth of approximately 22.87 meters, and an approximate area of 229 square meters. The retained parcel of 345 Nelson Street would have a frontage of approximately 12.15 meters, a depth of approximately 21.77 meters, and an approximate lot area of 272 square meters. Lot area, frontage, depth, and setback requirements are met for 345 and 347 Nelson Street each. The severed parcel of 351 Nelson Street would have a frontage of approximately 9.81 meters, a depth of approximately 24.65 meters, and an approximate area of 246 square meters. The retained parcel of 349 Nelson Street would have a frontage of approximately 9.81 meters, a depth of approximately 23.77 meters, and an approximate lot area of 237 square meters. Lot area, frontage, depth, and setback requirements are also met for 349 Nelson Street and 351 Nelson Street. The zoning bylaw requires 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit for semi-detached dwellings. Each dwelling unit has its own garage and enough driveway area at the front of each property to accommodate a second vehicle. Therefore, parking requirements are fulfilled. The properties have been designed to have shared driveways for each semi-detached building, which will minimize the number of driveway entrances onto Nelson Street. The zoning bylaw requires 30% landscape open space for the lots. According to the submitted site plan, each lot exceeds this requirement. The official plan designates the property as residential. The residential designation of land permits a full range of housing types and densities. It also encourages infill development on vacant lots where municipal services are in place and available. The policies for infill developments support development proposals that fit the character of the existing neighborhood. The proposed development is classified as low density, would be on municipal services, and would be compatible with the existing neighborhood. Section 4.1 of the official plan sets out policies for identified hazard lands, The policies encourage development to be directed away from known slope hazards. The policies also state that council may request a slope stability study to be undertaken for a development proposal where steep slopes are present. To address the hazard land policies in the official plan, the developer retains the firm Gemtech to prepare a slope stability study. A preliminary geotechnical investigation was prepared by Gemtech. The report is dated January 8th, 2021, and it concludes that in general, the property is suitable for development and exhibits no unusual constraints for the construction of typical residential structures from a geotechnical perspective. The report also contains a number of recommendations to be considered when development takes place on the property, including a 2.5 to 3 meter setback from the crest of the slope. Therefore, as part of the original zoning bylaw amendment, a condition was added that construction be set back 3 meters from the crest of the slope. Regarding the provincial policy statement 2020, the proposed development will contribute to a healthy, livable, and safe community by promoting an efficient development and land use pattern which will sustain the financial well-being of the city of Pembroke over the long term. The proposed use will accommodate an appropriate range and mix of semi-detached residential units and promote residential intensification. The proposed development also promotes a land use pattern that includes an efficient use of land and infrastructure, such as sanitary sewers, municipal water and storm services. Therefore, this application meets the intent of the current provincial policy statement. The planning department is recommending that the committee approve the applications for consent to sever for 4 semi-detached dwelling units to be sold individually at 345, 347, 349, and 351 Nelson Street, subject to conditions. A 5% parkland dedication fee is not required as that fee was previously paid as a condition of the original set of severances for these properties.
Thank you very much, Owen. That's quite clear. We've almost been through this before with the first 4 a while back. And now, did we receive any submissions in opposition or any communications regarding this application?
Mr. Chairman, we received on dated December 13th, 2021 from the County of Renfrew Development and Property Department as follows. Dear Colleen, thank you for the correspondence dated November 23rd, 2021 regarding the application to create separate lots located at 345 to 347 and 349 to 351 Nelson Street, Pembroke, Ontario, which abuts the County of Renfrew owned Algonquin Trail. We would like to ensure that all are aware that the county owned Algonquin Trail is a multi-use trail, motorized and non-motorized, that abuts the proposed severed and retained lands. We request that a notice be placed on title acknowledging that the trail is a multi-use trail and that there may be noise and dust impacts. There should be consideration requiring the developer owner to provide the construction of noise, visual barriers, and other appropriate mitigation measures. Thank you for the opportunity to comment, and should you require anything further, please do not hesitate to contact the undersigned. Sincerely, Jason Davis, Manager of Forestry and GIS.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess at this particular time, the individual that represents the application, does he wish to comment on it? Mr. Lavoie?
Yes, I'd like to say a few things. So first off, thank you, Owen, for presenting the report. My name is Paul Lavoie, a planning technician with JBTG Consultants. And I'd also like to apologize for my lack of a camera. We're deep into the pandemic and I still don't have that fixed. So sorry about that. So as Owen stated, the effect of these consents is to allow for the individual sale of the semi-detached dwelling units. Regarding the letter from the County of Renfrew, it is unfortunate that the letter has come fairly last minute, considering a number of other severances have already taken place in this property. This, of course, being the 3rd set of severances. At this point, Mr. Engler, already has a firm deal in place for 347 Nelson Street, and including a notice on title to acknowledge that there may be noise and dust impacts as a result of the trail would require an amendment to the agreement in place. We would ask that you please take this into consideration when making your decision. We have no objections to a notice on title for 345, 349, or 351, however. Otherwise, and similar to before, the semi-detached dwellings serve as a perfect example of infill development. The houses are currently under construction, as you're aware, and are being constructed to the same standards as the other two sets of semi-detached dwellings to the east, 353 to 359 Nelson Street. That's pretty much everything I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'll ask members of the committee for their questions and comments, starting with Councillor Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't really have any issues with this whatsoever. We've done it, like you said, with the first 4 units. It just makes complete sense. I agree with Mr. Lavoie. It's unfortunate the county letter is coming, so late in the game, really. At the same time, though, I'm happy to see that the county is getting ahead of these issues as we see development within the city, because there's already a firm deal. I really don't know what more can be done. I'm quite certain that whoever has put an offer in on that property, that they do know that the Algonquin Trail running through Pembroke is multi-use. I'm sure they've done their homework that far. So I really don't see any issues for the remaining 3 units. Yeah, that's something that that could be looked into. But I do support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Marie-Josée Levesque.
Yes, so I would also think that as a purchaser of a property, you have to do your own due diligence. And I don't have a very specific concern with regards to the property that has a firm offer, although I think the request from the county can be accommodated for the other 3 properties. That seems pretty reasonable to me.
Thank you very much. Tanya?
I agree as well that that's coming late in the game because there was already severances done on that. But doesn't it dip down there? Like the trail's not exactly abutting there. Does it not go down, or is it actually right there?
It dips down. Oh, sorry, Owen.
Oh, carry on, Paul.
Okay, no, it dips down quite a bit. It's almost like a natural buffer as it is.
I was gonna say it's pretty low down there. Okay, so yeah, I would agree with the same, that if there's a firm agreement on a property, that I don't think we should shake that up with adding that in now so late in the game, because it will be definitely will be an issue. And there is, tons of development along there that none of this has ever been put on. And I'm not sure how much more development is going to be done on there. So I agree with the fact of just forgoing the one that has the agreement already on there, because that could jeopardize the deal from going through. And they've had to have used their due diligence, knowing that trail is behind there.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lavoie, is there anything that you may have picked up on the comments from the committee members you'd like to respond to?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I think that this particular application regarding the letter from County Renfrew, I think the members of the committee have all agreed and they've hit on it. A little bit late in the game, but more important, you've got to be consistent. And it's not fair to any developer to all of a sudden halfway through a process to change the conditions. And but the thing is that the letter will be on record as far as this particular committee is concerned. And I think that if there has to be any action in the future, one way or the other, then we'll let whoever's in charge in the future deal with it. But by and large, for this particular application at this particular time, I think that the letter is noted, but is perhaps considered redundant at this point. So looking at the application itself, I would ask someone to move a motion to accept the application as presented by the planning department. Moved by Tanya Saint-Amour, seconded by Christine Reedy. Further comments?
Could I just
Yes.
get clarification on the motion, please? So is the motion just to approve the severances with no condition that the noise and dust clause be on title for all 4 of the proposed lots?
That's the way I see it. Now, I'm not sure if it's a little bit different.
The other 4 units do not have it. So this, you know, and they're the same developer, it's the same, but these, the county has asked for it on these 4 units. So I just need clarification if it's on all 4, not at all, or just on 3.
Tanya?
Honestly, if it's not on the other ones, I don't think it should be on these ones either. They're the same developer, it's the same kind of buildings. I think you're really going to run into issues with that on just what I do, you know, as a title problem. I think it's going to defer people. Like, I mean, they know it's there. It's not right there. There's that bit of a dip that goes down there. I just think that we're opening up a can of worms, to be honest with you. So I guess I'm saying not on any of them.
Okay, so that's the way you understand it. And Mrs. Reevy, I think you understand it the same way. And Marie-Josée Levesque?
Yes, I agree with that too.
Okay, so that's the clarification. Make sure it's in the minutes.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll now put the motion as was presented. All in favor? Carried. All opposed? Nobody opposed? Carried. I want the minutes to note that the chair also voted on this particular motion and that he agreed with it and approved. So it's with a 4-0 vote. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Lavoie. You've heard the decision, and if there's any more action, the planning department will be in touch with you or vice versa. Thank you very much. This particular part of the meeting is completed. Okay. Any more applications that we don't know about?
There's some more coming up.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess we'll look at the next item on the agenda, past decision update. We've had some action, perhaps. I believe, Owen, you're giving us an update here on this.
All applications heard by this committee at our last meeting of October 27th, 2021 have now passed their final appeal periods, which includes 2 rezoning applications, which went to City Council for approval, received approval. They have now passed 20-day appeal periods and are considered final. So those applications were minor variance for 759 Mary Street by Andrew Plummer, a zoning bylaw and official plan amendment for 901 River Road by Andrew Plummer, a zoning bylaw amendment for 474 Boundary Road, Bruce Leach for Ivy Stewart, and consent and minor variance applications as noted in the last report for Nelson Street properties for Mr. Engler. Again, all applications are now considered final.
Thank you very much, Owen. Any comments on this item on the agenda from members of the committee? Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to next meeting in the new year.
Okay, could we change it? We have the 19th, and we're wondering if we could go the 26th. We've got another minor variance in today, so it would just give us a little bit more time to be able to meet that deadline.
I don't see anyone having a problem with the 26th.
That works for me.
Okay.
I'm
Thank
good
you.
as well.
And Christine? Okay, okay. So the 26th it is.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other items you'd like to bring up?
If once we go, once this is not live, if I could just arrange with each of you before you leave Zoom, just for signatures tomorrow, but just don't end the call right away. That'd be great. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Well, before the adjournment, I would like to thank members of the committee who are present today, as well as the one who is absent with regrets. To thank you very much for your work in the past year. You know, you look back on the past 12 months, there's been a lot of decisions made, a lot of structure work, a lot of applications, and a special thanks to Colleen and Owen for all the work that they do, the background to make things a little easier because they clarify everything for us. So I want to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And we'll see you all on January 26th, if not before.
Thank you. This meeting's now adjourned.
Just hang in there.